It's his first visit to a region embroiled in political controversies, religious mistrust and increasing sectarian violence. So can the Pope's tour of a turbulent Holy Land remain merely a personal pilgrimage? How will it be interpreted? And what impact will it have on the Middle East? This is Inside Story. Hello there, welcome to the programme. I'm Shuli Ghosh. Pope Benedict XVI is on his first official visit to the Middle East. During his 8-day trip, he'll address Muslims, Christians and Jews as he travels across the region and through Israel. The Vatican has said the trip is a religious, not political visit. But his words and actions are being closely followed by the eyes of the world. He's already attempted to redress damage done to his church's relationship with Muslims. In 2006, he quoted a medieval text that linked Islam to violence. In Jordan this weekend, he apologised for how his words had been interpreted. He said they didn't reflect his own opinions and that Muslims and Christians have common interests.
Together, Christians and Muslims are impelled to seek all that is just and right. We are bound to step beyond our particular interests and to encourage authors, civil servants and leaders in particular to do likewise in order to embrace the profound satisfaction of serving the common good, even at personal cost.
Well, his trip has already run into controversy. He had been scheduled to speak on stage at a refugee camp in the West Bank, right next to the Israeli separation wall. Organisers hoped it would highlight the plight of Palestinians who can't move freely between Israeli and Palestinian-controlled areas. But those plans have been scrapped after pressure from the Israelis. So let's talk about the Pope's visit. Joining us today are our guests in Amman, Sean Lovett, head of the English section of Vatican Radio. In Bethlehem, Victor Bata, who is the Mayor of Bethlehem. And in Washington, D.C., Nihad Awad, the Executive Director of the Council for American Islamic Relations. Gentlemen, welcome to all three of you. Let's talk first about Christian-Muslim relations. Nihad, a large point of this trip is to improve Christian-Muslim relations. Do you think he's doing that?
I'm sure he's trying his best, and we see a world of difference between the early statement that he made in 2006 and his subsequent visit to Turkey and reception of Muslim delegations, and also his visit to Jordan and Palestine / Israel. So I think it is a gesture of goodwill that has to be appreciated. People ask, has the Pope done enough? Has he apologized for Muslims? I would say probably he should have, but I will not count, and consider it as a big stumble in the relationship between Christians and Muslims.
Well, what he apologised for was the misinterpretation, the misunderstanding that his remarks had made. Some clerics have said on this visit, whilst he was speaking in Jordan, that he should have been much more specific about an apology. I mean, do you think he needed to be more specific about an apology?
Again, I see the overall visit is an expression of appreciation, and he's also being hosted mainly with Arabs and Muslims, or by Arabs and Muslims. So this is, I think, appreciated. It should go to him, and it is his personal decision and the Vatican decision whether he should issue an explicit apology or not. To me personally, I'm happy with the fact that he's moving towards Muslims, and I think Muslims should take it and just consider it as a gesture of goodwill to move forward, because the relationship between Catholics and Muslims goes deeper than just a couple of words being said or not being said.
Sean, there's going to be enormous...
Can I just pick up on what was being said there? Because
Sure.
I think it's important to say that that was the Muslim perspective. From the Vatican's perspective, from the Catholic Church's perspective, what we've been seeing is wonderful signs of goodwill coming from the other direction as well. the goodwill is not just the extended hand is not just coming from the Catholic Church. We're seeing it coming from the Muslim world too. We were so impressed by that letter signed by 138 Islamic scholars and intellectuals, the common word between us and you. We were truly amazed by the discourse that was given by the Prince yesterday at the mosque, in which he explained, we all thought, I personally thought, in extremely succinct and clear terms, that what was said at Regensburg never was intended or never expressed the Pope's personal feelings, and that it really is time to move on into a new stage of relations.
Well, what it does show, though, Sean, and what will be very much at the forefront of his mind, is that there is huge focus on this trip. Whatever he says, whatever he does, it's going to be very, very closely scrutinised and examined and picked over.
Whatever he doesn't say and whatever he doesn't do will be just as eagerly scrutinized. It's kind of like walking on a tightrope, isn't it, with no safety net underneath you.
One thing he's not going to do is...
from Bethlehem, can I get in?
I was going to exactly say that, Victor. One thing he's not going to do, we don't think, is speak on this stage at the Aida refugee camp in Bethlehem. Victor, you're the Mayor of Bethlehem, and I mean, what kind of controversy is that causing?
Well, to start with, I want to comment on what have been said about really that episode that passed 2 years ago, about the misinterpretation what His Holiness the Pope said. I think this episode should be forgotten. Christians and Muslims are always good friends. We are in Bethlehem, for example, a model of coexistence between the two religions.
But isn't it true, Victor, that in Bethlehem many Christian families are leaving because the city is almost completely sealed off by the separation wall?
This wall of separation, this wall, which is an apartheid wall, surrounding the small city of Bethlehem, really surrounding, I would say, the birthplace of our Lord Jesus Christ, is really has done much damage to all its citizens, including the Christian citizens. That is why many Christian families are immigrating due to the pressure of occupation, bad economic situation, encircling of the city of Bethlehem, checkpoints, killing of people, damaging houses, uprooting trees, taking the land. Bethlehem used to be 31 square kilometers as a city. Now it is 4.7 square kilometers. Imagine this. That is why I think this whole thing that has been done, that the Pope shouldn't go near this wall, shouldn't be photographed near the wall. I think all the world knows that this wall is there. Israel shouldn't have made such a big thing about it.
Let's just tell our viewers a little bit more about the controversy over Bethlehem, because the Pope's planned visit to Bethlehem comes just a week after a new UN report which shows just 13% of land there is available to Palestinians. The report by the UN Office for Coordination on Humanitarian Affairs says the security barrier at the northern part of the city has severed the historic artery between Bethlehem and Jerusalem. Israel now controls 66% of the area, and access to resources and development space for Palestinians has been severely restricted. Now, the Pope was also planned to speak on a stage at a refugee camp, which was going to be set up right next to the separation wall. It looks like that's not going to happen now because of Israeli pressure. Let me tell you what the Israeli Foreign Minister, Yigal Palmor, said about this. He said, "It will serve the cause of peace much better if this visit is taken for what it is, a pilgrimage, a visit for the cause of peace and unity." Sean, it's going to be very difficult for the Pope to avoid political controversies while he's here, whatever he says. And that visit to Bethlehem with the separation wall behind him would have provoked a debate about the separation wall, wouldn't it?
I think whether the picture is taken of the Pope with the wall behind him or whether it isn't, I agree entirely with Victor. We've seen it, we see it in the newspapers every day. The world knows that it exists. And I'm not so sure that what you say is not going to happen isn't going to happen. I've been on many papal trips, and there are all sorts of surprises at the last moment. The fact is the Pope is going to be in Bethlehem. The fact
yes, but is he going to say anything about it? The interesting thing will be whether he makes any comment about how the people of Bethlehem are living or about the separation wall. Is he likely to do that?
That I really do not know. I have not seen the speeches. I have no idea exactly what he's going to say. That is going to be one of the surprises.
Can I comment on this?
Go ahead, Victor.
Can I comment on this? Sure. I think the visit of the Pope originally was a pilgrimage to the city of Bethlehem, the cradle of Christianity. We welcome him in this holy city. I would tell you one thing. I think there are two phases for this pilgrimage. One is spiritual in the Manger Square, where His Holiness the Pope will hold the pontifical mass for 2 hours among the Christian community, not only in Bethlehem, but they'll be from all Palestine in the Manger Square. The other thing will be near the Aida refugee camp. Though the plans have been changed there, but he will be in a school just right near the wall. So the wall will be seen. He will be photographed with the wall behind him. Nobody can deny this wall. It's not a fence, as the Israelis say. It is a wall 8 meters in height, cement wall 8 meters in height. His presence here as the head of the biggest Christian community in this world should have a political impact on the Palestinian-Israeli conflict. We really want this impact. We want His Holiness to have, to use his both spiritual and political power to solve this problem. Occupation should stop. The wall should be put down. Refugees have the right to return. The Palestinian question should be solved. The economy of the city is very bad due to this wall and due to the occupation. So I think there is a very big political message, and I think it should be done by His Holiness the Pope. He is the father of all people. He is our father. So he should act when he sees his children are suffering. I think he is going to do something to stop the suffering of the Palestinian people.
Nihad, let me bring you in. Should the head of the Roman Catholic Church play politics? Is he being pushed into playing politics, or is it something he should willingly do?
Well, this is not really playing politics. Religious leaders of the level of the Pope are expected to participate in the elimination of justice, speaking truth to power, spreading the values of mercy and forgiveness, but also eliminating the injustice inflicted upon people, irrespective of their faith communities.
But he's a spiritual leader, not a political leader.
Well, but his faithful are suffering, and people of other faith communities are suffering. And I believe it is also the duty of faith leaders around the world to speak truth to power, to encourage peace negotiations that will bring justice. And even, the first step is to look at the plight and the suffering of the Palestinians. The fact that the Christian community has been suffering under the occupation, their number have been decreased, and also their churches and their freedom have been limited under the occupation. The wall of separation is really an apartheid wall, as Victor said, and has been recognized by world leaders of civil rights and political minds. So this is an important, I believe, step. It depends on those who interpret it. I don't think it is a political maneuver. It is just a natural step that faith leader like the Pope should take by visiting there, and I don't think they should allow the Israelis to pressure them and to dictate where he should go and should not go, which picture should be taken, and which background should be there or not. Also, if I may say, just quick comment on Sean's earlier statement. I'm one of the early signers of the Common Word, one of the 137. I'm honored to be among those who are trying to bring reconciliation between Christians and Muslims, because for a very simple fact, if there is peace between Muslims and Christians, there will be peace in the world. And if there is no peace between Christians and Muslims, who together constitute about 55% of the world's population, there will be no peace.
You're nodding
in the
very
world.
emphatically there, Sean. You obviously agree with Nihad.
I have to. I wish I could look him in the eye right now. It's one of the limitations of doing it in this way. But I thank you. I thank you very much for that.
Okay, look, let's have a closer look. Let's have a closer look at the relations between the Vatican and Israel, which have been difficult because for nearly 2,000 years the Vatican held the Jews responsible for killing Jesus Christ. Now, Benedict XVI is just the third pope to visit the Jewish state. In 1964, Paul VI made a one-day stopover in Israel, but he never even mentioned it by name. A year later, the Vatican officially renounced the notion that Jews were collectively responsible for killing Christ. But it was only in 1993 that diplomatic ties between the two sides were established, and that was after the Israeli-Palestinian peace process began. In the year 2000, Pope John Paul II visited Israel. It was a highly successful trip. He met Israel's president, prime minister, and two chief rabbis. In 2005, he was succeeded by Pope Benedict XVI, a German who had a brief stint in the Nazi Party's Hitler Youth. He says he was forced to do it. Let me remind you of who our guests are today. We've got Sean Lovett, head of English section of Vatican Radio in Amman. We've got Victor Bata, the Mayor of Bethlehem, and in Washington DC, Nihad Awad from the Council of American Islamic Relations. Sean, let me come to you. Do you think that in this whole question of what impact the Church can have on the Middle East peace process, is the Church loath to criticise Israel precisely because of the complicated relationship there?
I think Pope Benedict XVI has made his position and the Catholic Church's position extremely clear. If you go back to the impromptu press conference that he gave on board the plane that brought us to Jordan on Friday morning, it was the first question that the journalists posed to him, saying, does he really think that coming to the Middle East as a pilgrim of peace, he can have an impact? And he responded, I thought, equally clearly, saying, yes, as a spiritual leader, through the power of prayer, as a man of reason, calling people to that wonderful aspect which defines our humanity, and also to what he calls educating consciences. Those three elements: prayer, education, and the recourse to reason. And that's a message that he's here to proclaim to everyone, whether it's Palestinians, Israelis, Muslims, Jews, Christians, all the denominations that live in this extraordinary part of the world.
Let me read a quote from Cardinal Walter Kasper, who is travelling with the Pope. Now, he's head of the Commission of the Holy See for Religious Relations with the Jews. He said, our relationship with the Jews has improved enormously. On the other hand, we must do justice to the Palestinian Christians who do not have an easy life in the occupied territories. Victor, let me ask you this. How do you think the Pope is going to react to the suffering of people when he visits in the coming days? And do you think he will be more critical of the Israelis?
I think, as a religious person, as a person who is very well cultured and educated and spiritual, I think he can touch on this matter, as Mr. Sean has said, in a way that, being a man who is always in touch with all the religious people all over the world, through religion, through his contact with his Muslim and Jewish members of the churches or synagogues or mosques, they can work together as part, really as a teaching of religion, because the three religions really teach friendship and love to thy neighbor.
But from a
I think they
practical
can
point
do
of view,
something.
from a practical point of view, the Church, the Vatican,
In a
approves
practical point of view, the Church,
it approves a two-state solution to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, doesn't it? And we're not at all sure that the
Yes.
new Israeli cabinet is going to go for that solution.
I'm with you. I'm with you. I mean, the Church, we, even as Palestinians, we accept a two-state solution. And don't forget that a two-state solution gives us only 22% of our historical Palestinian land. But even with that, we are ready, for the sake of peace,
Nihad,
with
let
our
me bring
neighbors,
you in.
to accept.
I think it's interesting that this
To
visit
accept this
has
solution.
been timed after such a right-wing Israeli cabinet has been sworn in. I mean, do you think that this is going to put the Church on more of a collision course with Israel?
Well, again, I agree with Victor. The Pope has to say something in support of justice, and that value, is needed. Whether the current Israeli government will accept the reality is something else. I think the world community, including the Barack Obama's administration, is reminding Israel of its earlier desire to have peace with the Arab world and to have two-state solutions. Now it's backtracking. So it is a great achievement if the Palestinians reconcile among themselves and accept the concept of two-state solution. So Israel really should take advantage of that, coming closer to accept the concept of two-state solutions among the majority of the Palestinians. I think the Pope also can help by shedding some light on the importance of bringing justice to the Palestinians, giving them back their rights, easing the pressure on them, giving them at least the basic amount of dignity and rights that other people around the world enjoy. So, and the Christian church, I think, has to move in that direction. Whether it will be seen as a political or religious, I believe it is insignificant, because what is the value of a faith, whether Christian, Judaism or Islam, if it doesn't help bring justice and peace to people by eliminating the injustice upon them by occupations, whether by the Israeli occupation or other forces. We have to enhance and put our faith into action by just helping the oppressed people, at least by speaking kind words and by showing their plight to the world, or showing them the sympathy and compassion that we feel in our hearts.
Very, very quick response from Sean. I mean, how much influence does the Church have in this region? Because the number of Christians in the region is dwindling, but so many people look to the Pope for guidance.
Shuli, I just wanted to say very quickly, it's important to note that this trip has been billed as a pilgrimage to the Holy Land, but it's also a visit to 3 countries, to Jordan, to Israel, and to the Palestinian territories. That's been very clear from the start. I also want to pick up, there's so much in this discussion. We have to remember that the Pope is just the Pope. He's not Superman. The other thing that is important, though, is the Pope works from a privileged position. He does have a privileged standpoint insofar as he comes with no specific political agenda. He's not a politician. He's not searching for votes. He doesn't have to look to be re-elected next time round. He doesn't even have an economic agenda insofar as he's not here to sign contracts for millions of dollars. He's here to proclaim the essence, the basis of the faith which all of us have in common, Christians, Jews, and Muslims. And that is that there is a God of love, a God of mercy, and a God of justice. And a God who expects us to exercise those 3 elements as well, to love each other, to be just to each other, and to show mercy. That seems to me the essence of the meaning behind this trip.
Well, love and mercy, but no more time, I'm afraid. Gentlemen, thank you very much indeed for contributing. Sean Lovett, Victor Bata, and Nihad Awad, thank you all very much indeed. And thank you for joining us here on this edition of Inside Story. We welcome your comments. Please email them to us at insidestory@aljazeera.net. But for the moment, from me, Shuli Ghosh, bye-bye.